The alarm clock blared. It was 8 p.m. "Oh no," groaned Ted. He had meant to set it for 8 a.m., but in his sleepy haze the night before, he had made a critical error. Now, he was in big trouble. He was very, very late. His heart raced as he realized the gravity of the situation. He had an important meeting at work, one he couldn't afford to miss. His alarm was set for p.m., not a.m. How could he have been so careless? He cursed under his breath, knowing that this mistake could cost him dearly. His boss was going to be very mad. Ted could already imagine the stern look on his boss's face, the disappointed shake of his head. He couldn't let that happen. Ted jumped out of bed. He moved with a sense of urgency, his mind racing with thoughts of how to salvage the day. He stubbed his toe on the door. "Ouch!" he yelled. The pain shot through his foot, but he couldn't afford to slow down. He hopped around on one foot. It was a comical sight, but Ted was too stressed to find any humor in it. He looked like a silly dancer. His movements were frantic and uncoordinated, a desperate attempt to regain his balance. Ted got dressed very fast. He grabbed the first clothes he could find, not caring if they matched or were even clean. He put on his shirt inside out. He didn't even notice. His mind was too preoccupied with the ticking clock. He put on mismatched socks. One was striped, one had polka dots. It was a fashion disaster, but Ted didn't care. Ted ran to the bathroom. He needed to at least make himself presentable. He looked in the mirror. What he saw made him cringe. He had a crazy bedhead. His hair was sticking up in all directions, a testament to his restless sleep. His hair looked like a bird's nest. No amount of combing could tame it. "This day is off to a great start," Ted mumbled. He knew he had to pull himself together, but it felt like the universe was conspiring against him. Ted needed coffee, badly. He had stayed up late working on a project and barely got any sleep. His eyes were heavy, and his head felt like it was filled with cotton. The only thing that could save him now was a strong cup of coffee. He rushed to the kitchen, his mind set on one thing: caffeine. He could almost taste the rich dark brew as he hurriedly grabbed his favorite mug from the cupboard. He poured himself a big cup, filling it to the brim. The aroma was intoxicating, and he felt a glimmer of hope that this might just turn his day around. He took a big gulp. "Ouch! Too hot!" he shrieked, feeling the scalding liquid burn his tongue. In his panic, Ted spilled coffee everywhere, the hot liquid splashing onto his shirt and the floor. It was on his shirt, soaking through the fabric and leaving a large, unsightly stain. He groaned in frustration, knowing this was not how he wanted to start his day. It was on the floor, forming a sticky puddle that spread across the tiles. He could feel the coffee seeping into his socks as he stepped in it. It was even on the ceiling somehow. Ted stared in disbelief at the brown splatters above him, wondering how on earth he had managed to make such a mess. He looked around. How is that even possible, he wondered. He grabbed a towel, determined to clean up the disaster he had created. He tried to clean the mess, wiping the counters and mopping the floor, but the more he cleaned, the more it seemed to spread. He just made it worse. The towel was now soaked with coffee, and he was only smearing the mess around. His frustration grew with each failed attempt to tidy up. Now the kitchen was stickier than a candy store. Coffee stains were everywhere, and the room smelled like a coffee shop gone wrong. Ted gave up. "I need to leave," he muttered, feeling utterly defeated. He knew he couldn't fix this mess right now, and decided it was best to just walk away. He grabbed his keys and ran out the door, hoping that maybe, just maybe, he could find a decent cup of coffee somewhere else. Ted's car coughed. It sputtered. It refused to start. "Come on, you can do it," Ted pleaded. "The car just sat there." "Fine," yelled Ted. He decided to take the bus. He ran down the street. He saw the bus. It was pulling away. Ted ran faster. He waved his arms. He shouted, "Wait!" The bus driver didn't see him. Ted watched the bus disappear. He was out of breath. He was sweaty. He was defeated. This day can't get any worse, he thought. Ted finally made it to work. He was 2 hours late. He had missed his alarm, spilled coffee on his shirt, and got stuck in traffic. It was one of those mornings where everything that could go wrong, did go wrong. He snuck into his office trying to be as quiet as possible. He hoped his boss wouldn't notice his late arrival. Ted's heart was pounding as he tiptoed past his co-workers, who were already deep into their tasks for the day. Ted sat down at his computer and started to type an email. He needed to explain his tardiness. His fingers flew over the keyboard as he tried to come up with a reasonable excuse. He was explaining why he was late, but in his rush, he accidentally sent the email to everyone in the company. Ted's eyes widened in horror as he realized his mistake. Ted's face turned red. He wanted to disappear. He could feel the stares of his co-workers as they read his email filled with silly excuses and numerous typos. The email was full of silly excuses and typos. It was a disaster. Ted had written about his alarm clock breaking, his cat spilling coffee on him, and even a fictional traffic jam caused by a parade of ducks. Ted decided to just go home. He couldn't face his co-workers after such an embarrassing mistake. He packed up his things, feeling utterly defeated. He walked out of the office, his head hanging low. He just wanted to forget about this day and hope that tomorrow would be better. Ted knew he had to come up with a plan to redeem himself.